Today I'm going to show you guys how to change the oil on your Cadillac ATS. The owner's manual, I believe, calls for 6 quarts on the oil change on these vehicles. This is the 2.0 turbo, and today I'm going to be using the Royal Purple 5W30 with a Royal Purple oil filter. Part number is 1048. Alright, and the first thing you want to do is start by jacking the car up. Now that we have the vehicle jacked up, we're going to go ahead and just make sure the jack stands are on there nice and sturdy and crawl underneath. Alright, so we're underneath the car from the passenger side, and we're looking at the bolt for the oil pan, which is right here. It's held on by a 15mm. So we're going to take a wrench and we're just going to break it loose. So I'm working with one hand, but basically just take your 15mm wrench, stick it right in there, break it loose, and I'll be back. Alright, so the way to break it loose is when you put your wrench right there. I already broke it loose, so I'm just going to let you guys know which way to go, so you don't strip the bolt or you're sitting and going the wrong way. So you got your wrench there, just going to pull this way. So you're pulling away from the transmission pan, you're pulling towards the front of the car. Alright, so now that we got it broken loose, we're going to take our pan here. You don't want to put it directly underneath, because when you pop this out, it's going to come out with some pressure. So you want to kind of put it a little forward, a little bit more in front. Then we're just going to twist this off slowly, and it's going to start to leak from here. And then as you twist it off and pull it out, you let everything fall into the pan. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back because it might get a little dirty. And there it goes, right into the pan. And you want to you're going to want to follow it with the pan as it gets less and less. And just wait till it's all out. I'll be back when it's done draining. So while we let that drain out, now's a good time to look at your oil pan bolt and inspect the tip to make sure there are no like metal shavings on it. If you've got the magnetic tip to it, which is always recommended. I know these cars are fairly new, but hey, you never know. So get in that habit and just check it out. And as we're still waiting for the oil to finish up draining, we'll just remove this oil cap now. We'll place a funnel in there so we can get the new oil ready to go. I got my funnel here, and because you only do oil changes, once every few months, it's good to check your funnel now. If you could see all that dirt and stuff on there, we're just going to go ahead and clean it off before we add the oil in there. We don't want any of that stuff to get in the engine. So again, a good time to check that out while we're waiting for the oil to drain out from underneath is to check your funnel if you have one of these and you don't do oil changes so often. And let's clean that out while we wait for that oil to drain. Cool, now we got a clean funnel sitting there waiting for new fresh oil to get poured in there. By the way, if you don't know, we will be using fully synthetic oil in this car. I only use fully synthetic because it's the best oil. I know the dealerships, or some people will tell you that with these newer cars you don't have to change your oil for, I don't know, 5,000 or 7,500 miles. Even the owner's manual might say that, but these are turbocharged cars and they really love oil, so I always stick to that 3,000 mile rule or the 3-month rule still. Call me old school, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So now that we got that clean funnel in there, we're going to go check it out from underneath. I think it's all done pouring out, and next we're going to remove the oil filter. Alright, so that looks about done. I'm going to go ahead, clean that off, put the bolt back on. Alright, so the bolt's back on, and remember when you loosened it we were pulling towards the front, now we're pushing away towards the transmission pan just to give it one last tight turn. You want it tight but not too tight, because remember you're going to be under here again in a couple months. So, and that's it for that. Next we're going to go ahead and drain the oil filter out. Filter, if you follow the oil pan bolt straight down, that'll lead you right to your oil filter, which is right here. Basically we're just going to grab this and we're going to turn it this way. Once we yank it off, we're going to obviously have the pan, your oil pan underneath to catch all the oil that's going to come out of there. And once you pull it out, you'll want to put it somewhere where you have some towels, because it will be full of oil and it will be dripping, so you don't want that on your floor if you're doing it in your garage. So we're going to go ahead and remove that, and I'll be back. The trick that I like to do when removing the oil filter is I take out the new one and use this same box, put some tissue in there, and then I'll have it underneath in the car with me, so that when I twist off the old one, I just put it in here, close it, and then I can toss it out. That way it's not anywhere on the floor, or it's not just sitting around, because it's not so easy getting in and out from under the car. So save myself some time, I'll throw this under the car so we can pull off that oil filter. Pull off the old one, it's sitting right there. It will eventually start dripping from underneath, but this does save you quite a bit of some time to get it to a trash can or something. So let's go dispose of it and we'll be back. So we're going to prep the new oil filter here to place back underneath the spot where we took the old one off. And I'm going to use this term just to give you a quick tip. When you're pulling the old one off, the oil is going to start dripping down from the filter, so your hands are going to get really, really slippery. You really want to make sure you got a tight grip on that old one when you're twisting it off. When you have it off, your filter is going to be, or your oil filter is going to be full of oil, so you're going to want to pour everything that's in there in that pan that's catching all that excessive oil, or that oil that you're removing, so that this thing is, or your old one is empty of oil. And then you can go ahead and toss it out. So in order to get this one ready, what you want to do is just open up one of these, just dab your finger in there, and you're just going to grease everything up in here. Some people will actually pour it all the way in there and wait for it to fill up and then turn it on there. I don't like to do that. It's just more of a hassle to me, but you can if you'd like. All I'm going to do is just grease up the edges here, and we will be back. Here's a pretty clean shot at what the oil filter location looks like without the filter in there. And as we see, there's no more dripping down. So I'm going to clean that all up, clean the lines up here, and we'll screw the new one on. So here's the new one. We're just going to twist this way. And we're just going to make sure it is tight. This one does need to be pretty tight so nothing spills. Actually, I'm going to try to get a better angle here to tighten it up. This one's a little tough to do because once you pull off the old one, your hands are going to be all oily. A lot of people use gloves. I don't really care for gloves. You can if you'd like. I just wipe my hands and tighten it up. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe my hands clean, dry, and then I'm going to tighten this one up and we'll be back. And yet another one of my tricks, or just, I guess, ways to help you out in the future. Once you tighten it all the way up, I usually write arrows in the way for next time when I do it. I know which way to take it off. It's happened to me, even though I've done this millions of times, where I tighten it up so much and I'm like, crap, I don't remember which way to turn it off. It's not coming off this way or this way, especially with oily hands. So I always just do this. That way I know that when I'm taking it off, I'm supposed to turn it that way. So we're all done from underneath. We've got the oil pan bolt back on. We've got the oil filter tightened up. Those are crucial. You want to make sure before you pull your oil in there that your bolt is on and your filter is on from underneath the car. So now the easy part. Now we're just going to pour. We're going to start with the small one. We're going to pour it into the funnel, and as we pour that small one in there, we're going to give it a few seconds and just check underneath the car just to make sure there's nothing leaking. So I'll go ahead and pour that new one on there, and then we'll check underneath. So we poured all 6 quarts into the funnel. The car's all oiled up. We checked underneath, nothing leaked. Next, we're going to remove the funnel. We're going to put the cap back on, and then what we're going to do is turn the car on. And I usually do it with the car still lifted. That way I can see if anything drips with the car on. So I'm going to put the cap back on it, and then we will start the car and check underneath. Okay, let's start her up. And we're going to check underneath to see if anything's leaking. Everything is looking good. Nothing's leaking from the pan or the filter. Now we're gonna reset the oil life. Alright, so we're back in the car here. You're just gonna scroll over this way and we're gonna go up to the oil life. Mine says 92 because I disconnected the battery to put in the ZZP Stage 1 kit, so it reset it on its own. But basically when you get there, you just want to hit select, hold it down, and it should reset it for you. And you hear it beep and it's at 100. And that's it. That's how you change the oil on your Cadillac ATS. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Pretty easy process. And there you go.